Good evening and welcome to the September 14th, 2021 Planning and Zoning meeting. If we can have roll call, Shannon, please.
Messina.
Here.
Fleming.
Here.
Ingalls. Here. Lutrip. Mandel.
Here.
Rumpler. I think that's a yes.
Is that a yes?
Rumpler.
We don't have a Lutrip or Rumpler yet. They're
Okay.
both trying to connect, I believe.
Ward?
Ward.
Here. Okay, thank you. Can you join me for the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Need approval of the August 10th minutes, please.
Motion to approve?
Have a motion, a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 At this time, we'll do public comments, and that's anything that anyone would like to speak about that isn't on the agenda tonight. No? Okay. Hillary, staff comments, please.
Yes, good evening, Commissioner. So just a few updates for you. So first, for October, we have 2 items scheduled, 2 public hearings. There's an annexation request and then a separate subdivision request. I have spoken with Terry Pickle, the director of our water department, about coming and doing a presentation, and he's willing and excited to come and do that. And then I'm going to be discussing with the other department heads about having the various departments come and try and schedule that every month or every few months, just the ones that are development related. I think that would be very timely and educational for the commission. So thank you, Chairman, for kind of talking through that with me as well. The Regional Housing and Growth Issues Partnership, we are continuing to have our monthly meetings, and we're looking at local worker housing issues right now and coming up with a draft toolkit that has a variety of options that we're going to be exploring in further detail. And then there are 2 subcommittees that are also doing some additional work. One is on open space, to look at the open space on the prairie. And then the second is on schools and kind of looking at funding and state level types of issues. So working with a group locally with all the different school districts and some developers and property owners, and then also working with some elsewhere in the state. So some good topics are being addressed there. And then if I may, I'll just address the Envision while I'm talking.
Sure.
So the Envision Coeur d'Alene, we're still making some great progress. We're working through all those action items. So if you recall, there's quite a number of them. There was about 247. So the city staff and CDA 2030 are working on helping clean up some of the language in there and looking for any duplication or ones that have already been accomplished to take those out. And then also identifying convening authority to kind of identify where some of the actions maybe would be more city-focused and others maybe should just be in CDA 2030's plan, and then ones where we would work together. So making some headway on that, but we're still probably a ways out from getting those workshops and getting kind of a final version of that for public review and some additional public engagement. So that's
Okay.
the update on that.
All right, thanks, Hillary, appreciate it. Do we have any commission comments at this point? And is Peter and Lou on?
Peter has joined, and let's see, I don't see if Lewis is on yet.
Honorable Chairman, I am here. This is Peter.
Oh,
While we're out here, when I'm sitting up there, Tom, I don't know if you can hear me now, but when I'm up there with where you are sitting, sometimes people on Zoom don't come in very well. If that happens to be the case with me, give me some indication and I'll cut to the chase on anything I'm saying. Thank you.
thank you. We can hear you, or I can hear you. Is Lewis online?
He's not on yet, so hopefully we'll
Okay.
get him to connect soon.
All right,
Thanks.
good. No commissioner comments. Okay, at this time, we're going to go into LS-1-21, approval of a landscaping plan. The applicant is Government Way Coeur d'Alene Hotel LLC.
Tammy will be presenting from Zoom.
Oh, okay.
The applicant is here in person.
Hi,
Good evening.
hello, who's on Zoom right now?
This is Tammy.
Okay, if I can just swear you in, do you swear?
Mr. Chairman, it's Tammy Stroud.
Tammy Stroud.
Oh, Tammy, I couldn't make out your, sorry, Tammy. I still should swear you in, no.
All right, thank you.
You're
So
welcome,
the
Tammy.
applicant for this is Braintree Properties, and the request is to determine the amount of spacing of parking lot landscaping for a 6.84 acre parcel with 390 parking spaces for the proposed Government Way apartments located at 2119 North Government Way. So this is the location map, and just to the north of the site, here is I-90, and this is Government Way. And again, it is a 6.84 acre parcel. So the decision point, the Planning Commission must approve the following: the amount of parking lot landscaping and the spacing, the maximum distance between landscape areas. So this is the proposed landscape plan that the applicants have submitted. The code requires 12% gross area to be landscaped if the number of parking spaces in a parking lot is between 100 and 300. In this proposal, there's 390 spaces. So the commission will need to determine the appropriate additional percentage of landscaping required for the 90 additional parking spaces. Applying the standards to the 390 spaces, there would be a minimum of 8,424 square feet of parking lot landscaping required, a maximum spacing between landscaped areas of 100 feet, and a minimum of 28 parking lot landscape trees. This proposal shows approximately 32,290 square feet of parking lot landscaping contained in planter islands, end caps, and landscape areas on the north, south, east, and west of the property lines, as well as along the front, rear, and side of the proposed building. There are a total of approximately 141 proposed new landscape trees within or on the perimeter of the parking lot. So there's actually a total of 52,651 square feet of proposed landscaping within the overall site, which also includes the east entry area, which is the driveway site that comes off of Government Way. And this is the legend that calls out the areas on the site for turf grass lawn, planting areas with planter material and mulch, decomposed granite, and then the deciduous ornamental, deciduous medium, deciduous large, and deciduous columnar evergreen trees. In summary, the total proposed landscaping is 32,290 square feet. That does reside within the parking lot with an overall of 52,651 square feet of landscaping. The minimum distance, the maximum proposed distance between the parking stall and landscaping is approximately 100 feet, where a maximum of 100 feet is allowed. And then I just provided the information on the landscape trees proposed for the site, and a total of 141 trees are proposed. And this site plan does exceed the required landscaping for the parking lot requirement for by more than a 4-to-1 margin. So as far as action alternatives, the Planning Commission must consider this request and by a simple motion, approve, deny, or continue the item for further study. And findings are not required for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. Go ahead, John. Good question.
Tammy, this is John. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Tammy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, John.
Okay, thank you. Question for you. So this is the first time I've seen a landscape plan, I guess, come to P&Z. So I'm just kind of a process question. Chairman Messina is the chairman of the Design Review Commission. I sit on that commission as well.
We lost audio feed for John.
Hello?
I can hear you, John, and I can hear you, Tom.
Okay.
Maybe proceed, sorry.
So I guess process-wise, I'm just a little curious.
No, I'm just making sure that everybody can hear you out. Can you hear John?
Yes,
Yes
I
or
can.
no?
I can hear the
Yeah?
question.
Okay. All right, sorry, John.
So I'm just a little curious of process. Just trying to understand, this plan that we're looking at on the screen here went to design review, and the design review commission approved this project. And one of the key things that the design review looks at is landscaping. So I'm just curious. I just don't recall something like this coming to planning and zoning before.
So Joan, it's been quite some time since we've taken a look at a landscape plan, but this has been in our code under the environmental landscaping section of our code. Typically, most commercial projects fall below the 300 parking stall threshold, and therefore it's dealt with our commercial design guidelines and standards. I'll give you a couple examples. US Bank Call Center off of Celtice Way. Let's see, Lowe's. That's another project that was over 300. So if we look at them historically, those are the sites that we have looked at this, and you had to make that recommendation or decision about the proposed landscape plan. And a little more background on this site in particular. The applicant was working through a secondary access with the fire department per their code requirement. And we didn't bring this forward until we knew that they had that secured, and they're working through that with one of the neighboring properties.
Thanks, Tammy. I guess with that, I'm pretty supportive of this, recognizing that again this plan has been pretty heavily vetted by both staff, design review commission, and it sounds to me from your presentation that the total amount of square footage of landscaping far exceeds the city minimum, and the distances are within the allowable, and the types of the trees and whatnot, and the number of trees are this exceeds the minimum. So to me, this is pretty supportable. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Any other questions, Tammy?
Devil's advocate. 390 spaces, was that the requirement based on the key count in the buildings, or are we over the requirement?
That's based on the number of rooms, and that's determined on a 1, 2, or 3 bedroom unit
Okay.
for this proposed apartment project.
So as long as we didn't throw in an extra 50 just for fun. And the other thing is, we're going to meet with Terry Pickle here soon on the water department. We know we are at our breaking point on water and hydration of planting and grasses and trees, and the demand is getting higher by the minute on water. Can we make sure that this planting plan includes xeriscapes, clover, low-demand planting and low-demand tree plantings? Because we just, as an example, right around Shopco, it looks like the owner just shut off the irrigation system this summer, and it looks blighted. And I don't want to see that happen in the city, where we just can't address water on an excessive or a very gracious amount of landscape planting. I'd hate to see a loss of green and trees when we can no longer feed our populace, and now we have to ignore our trees. So I do want to make sure that they really pay attention to water rationing and the survival of an expensive a lot of landscaping. So that's my plug for xeriscapes and water saving.
Excellent.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is here, so if there's any questions.
Okay. I have a sign-up sheet, and I'm not sure if everyone that signed this sheet wants to speak on this particular item, because I recognize a few names. It might be for the next item that's up, but just want to make sure if the applicant wants to come up. And are they on Zoom or? Oh, come on up. Just tell me your name and I'll swear you in.
Jacob Rivard.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, go right ahead.
So, Commissioners, Chairman, thank you for the opportunity to present to you once again. I appreciate the time of yourselves and the staff that put towards this. It's fairly straightforward. You know, we've worked really hard with the staff. We have had multiple meetings regarding this. Commissioner Fleming, your comment about the xeriscaping is definitely valid. Most of our shrubbery is going to be xeriscaped and low water usage. However, you know, we do understand that we are exceeding the trees limit that we are required to have. If that's something we would like to reduce, we can, but we want to balance the ability of having, you know, an aesthetically pleasing environment that provides secular shelter and for the perception of being more inclusive, not inclusive, but feeling safe and, you know, not as you're close to the freeway. But as of now, we feel like we've done a pretty good job overall in surrounding the landscape perimeter with trees from the adjacent businesses and also the interstate and the highway north and to the west of it. I do not have anything other things to say. If you would like to ask any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Questions, anyone? No?
Okay.
Okay, great, thank you. Like I said, I have this sign-up sheet. It says the applicant, and I have Nicole Cummings on this, and I'm pretty sure she wants to speak for the next item.
I think there's two sign-in sheets for the public hearing. This one's just administrative. So is that one for?
I have this one, LS 1-21, so,
Oh, okay. Well, we don't need a sign-in sheet for this
Yeah,
one. So
I-
we might just need to compare the names for the next item.
okay.
Yep.
We'll do that.
Thanks.
Giving that and make a motion to
I'll make a
Approve?
simple motion to approve.
Second.
second. Can we roll call on that, Shannon? Hello? Sorry.
Fleming,
Yes.
Ingalls,
Yes.
Mandel,
Yes.
Lutrip,
Yes,
Rumpler, Ward.
Yes.
Okay. Motion passes. Thank you. Next
Thank
item that we
you.
have up is SP-5-21, and it's a proposed R34 density increase special use permit in a C17 zoning district. Mike is going to give a presentation.
All right, good evening, Commissioners. This is a public hearing for item SP-5-21, application by John M. Stone Living Trust, E10 LLC, represented by Architects West. They're requesting a special use permit to R34 that will allow a taller mixed-use development with commercial units located on the first floor and 15 residential multifamily units located above the commercial units. This property is located at 1579 West Riverstone Drive. Legal notice was published in the Coeur d'Alene Press on August 28th, 2021, and all other required notifications have been made. Here is the subject property highlighted here in red. This is Northwest Boulevard, Interstate 90. Close-up aerial photograph of the property here is highlighted in red. This is the Riverstone development. See, there's a mixed-use development located here with commercial units on the first floor and residential above. Here's a bird's-eye view looking at the subject site and the Riverstone development. And here is the site plan. The proposed site plan that the applicant has submitted with the building located here, some underground parking and some surface parking. This is BB Boulevard. This is Riverstone Drive. Here's a building elevation the applicant has submitted, indicating what it's going to look like from the road. The applicant has also submitted an exhibit that shows the building height and it compared to other uses in the area, with Riverstone West condo building here, La Peeps, 60 feet, and the Hampton Inn and Suites at 80 feet. This is the primary reason the applicant is coming forward, is to get a taller building. In the R34 allows you to go to 63 feet in height, and currently in the C17, you go to the R17 for a building height for multifamily, and this would be 45 feet. They want to get a taller parking garage and the same at the top. Same size unit on each floor without shrinking the top floor and shrinking the bottom. There are 3 findings that must be met in order for a special use to be approved. However, for R34 requests, there's an additional 2 findings that need to be met. We will go over those one at a time, starting with B8A. that this proposal is or is not in conformance with the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan indicates this area is in the Spokane River District, and it's in a transition area. And these areas are where the character of the neighborhoods is in transition and should be developed with care. The street network, the number of building lots, and the general land uses are expected to change greatly within the planning period. The comprehensive plan indicates that the Spokane River District area will have various commercial, residential, and mixed uses, that overall density may approach 10 to 16 dwelling units per acre, but pockets of denser housing are appropriate and encouraged. That the scale of development will be urban in nature, promoting multimodal connectivity to downtown. The scale and intensity of the development will be less than the downtown core. Neighborhood service nodes are encouraged where appropriate, and that street networks will be interconnected, defining and creating smaller residential blocks and avoiding cul-de-sacs. This slide represents 3 comprehensive plan objectives as it relates to this request. The full list is on page 12 and 14 of your staff report. Objective 1.12, support the enhancement of existing urbanized areas and discourage sprawl. Objective 0.14, promote the efficient use of existing infrastructure, thereby reducing impacts to underdeveloped areas. And objective 3.01, provide for a diversity of suitable housing forms with existing neighborhoods to match the needs of a changing population. The next finding is finding B8B, that the design and the planning of the site is or is not compatible with the location, setting, and existing uses on adjacent properties. So this property is located adjacent to the Riverstone and is part of the Riverstone project development. The Red Robin Restaurant is located across the street to the east. There's office uses located to the south of the subject property. There are multifamily dwellings, multifamily housing, mixed uses, professional office uses, and senior apartments within the development. There are 2 hotel structures within the development that are 5 stories tall and in proximity of the subject property. The mixed-use condo development along Main Street is 64 feet in height at its highest point, and the riverfront house located in Bellerive along Beebe and Belvedere Lane is 55 feet tall at the highest point. So here's some site photos of the subject property. This is on the northeast corner looking southwest. This is on the west side looking southwest. This is on the southwest side looking northeast. This is on the center of the property looking east. This is on the center of the property looking north. And this is on the intersection of Beebe Boulevard and Riverstone Drive looking north along Beebe Boulevard into Riverstone. Here's a zoning map of the subject property and the surrounding areas. You see it's predominantly C17 with the C17 PUDs. There's a single-family residential area located here. Some special use permits in the area that have happened over time. In 2002, there was a special use permit for R34 density increase. That has since expired, and the hotel was built as a permitted use at this location. In 2019, there was a special use permit approved for R34 density increase for 65 units, 5-story building. That was approved and is currently under construction. Here's a land use map indicating the surrounding land uses. It says it's commercial predominantly, but our land use map doesn't show mixed uses, and that's one of the things that staff's been wanting to work on is to update our land use layer to show mixed uses, because these would be all mixed uses here next to this. So the additional required findings for the special use, this is the first one, be in close proximity to shopping, schools, parks. Additionally, this district is appropriate for a transition between R17 and commercial and industrial. The closest school in this area is Winton Elementary, which is across Northwest Boulevard. The next finding is finding B8C, that the location, design, and size of the proposal are such that the development will or will not be adequately served by existing streets, public facilities, and services. This application has been routed through engineering, streets, water, fire, police, parks, and wastewater departments, and they have reviewed the application request in regards to public utilities and public facilities. Each department has indicated that there are adequate public facilities and public utilities available to serve the proposed request. Traffic engineer has also looked at this and made comments, and the full comments are on page 21 and 22 of the staff report in regards to traffic. But at the proposed 8,000 square foot gross area of commercial space, this relates to between 720 and 1,018 trips per day or between 72 and 148 peak hour trips, relating to an over 20% increase in peak hour traffic at the Riverstone Drive BB Boulevard intersection. However, not all vehicle trips are anticipated to route through that intersection with other existing parking lot approaches available. If considered a general building office, an average of 11 trips per day can be expected per 1,000 square feet of gross floor area. An 8,900 square foot office building would result in 88 trips per day, or 12 a.m. to 12 p.m. peak hour trips, a modest increase. And again, see the full traffic engineer, and he is on Zoom if you had specific questions in regard to traffic. So the last additional required finding for the R34 special use permits is be in close proximity to our arterial as defined by the Coeur d'Alene Transportation Plan, the KMPO's current Metropolitan Transportation Plan, sufficient to handle the amount of traffic generated by the request in addition to that of the surrounding neighborhood, and the project and accessing street must be designed in such a way so as to minimize vehicle traffic through the adjacent residential neighborhoods. The KMPO's Metropolitan Transportation Plan indicates that Northwest Boulevard is an arterial, and this site is in close proximity to that. There are 6 recommended conditions. First one is the building height shall be limited to 54 feet per the applicant's self-imposed condition. However, the limited building height shall not preclude the requirement to screen all rooftop equipment. The maximum height shall not exceed 63 feet. And condition number 2, the staff report went out with 53,882 square feet, but since that went out, the applicant has informed staff and brought to our attention that the actual numbers are up just a little bit, so we made those corrections. We wanted to inform you of those changes. So the total square foot of the building interior shall be limited to 53,511 square feet, and the number of residential units shall be limited to 15 per the applicant's self-imposed condition. Number 4, adequate parking shall be provided pursuant to the final building plan and approved design that the parking is not reduced from the Riverstone Village campus parking. The city may require additional consent from lessees if the project is taking away or reducing any required parking, and the applicant will be required to build this project based on the site plan submitted and any design changes required by the Design Review Commission approval. Planning Commission will need to consider this request and make appropriate findings to approve, deny, or deny without prejudice. And that concludes my presentation.
Go ahead, John. Questions for Mike?
I have a few questions. Mike, would you mind going back to that drawing if you could find it? It was a cross-section view of the building that shows, the 2 different scenarios with or without the S. Yeah, thank you, that one right there. So correct me if I'm wrong, but the applicant here is using the special use permit kind of to R34 rather creatively. Are we not used to seeing that come before us for more density? And
That is correct. They are coming through not just for, most often the R34 was for a density increase to get the density. This one is to get the height, to get a little bit taller so they can build the commercial units with the residential above.
so density really should be off the table in terms of debate tonight because under
could be-
C17, the applicant could develop 23 units, correct?
That's correct.
So if anything, it's kind of below that. But so I'm just trying to frame, where we're going tonight. And as I studied the packet and whatnot, in my mind, the applicant, if we denied this, the applicant, correct me if I'm wrong, could proceed straight to a building permit tomorrow for what you see on the left side of that screen, right?
That is correct.
Which is really the same project, the same number of, the parking wouldn't change,
Nothing would change
the
except
traffic wouldn't change, the water doesn't change, the wastewater doesn't change. So really, what we have to really wrestle with tonight, I guess in my opinion, I'm getting your reaction, is are we okay with a little more height in order to get, I guess, in the applicant's view, a better building, right?
Yeah,
So-
that is correct. Right now, they could build 23 units, 45 feet in height with just a building permit by a permitted use, but they want to get a little taller for this project, and that's the reason why they're coming forward.
I'm just anticipating we might hear a lot about traffic and, the green grass is going away. I love green grass.
Right.
But to frame this, the applicant could proceed tomorrow straight to permit with basically the same exact project with the same parking
Exactly. The main
without
issue today
without our
is-
approval.
is-
With the parking issues, the traffic issues, the water issues, the wastewater, all that wouldn't change one bit, correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Other questions for Mike at this time?
Mr. Chairman and
Yes.
Commissioner, I just want to clarify one point. So that is true if the project is approved with the conditions. So if you go with a full R34, we don't have just a variance for height. So they can't just come in and say, we just want 63 feet or 45 feet or 54 feet. They're asking for the whole R34. And so those self-imposed conditions that staff has worked with the applicant team on are important because it does say the square footage and the height are limited. If the full R34 potential was realized, that increases the need for parking, that increases the square footage, that increases traffic, et cetera, et cetera.
So the conditions limit the units too.
Thank you.
Pam? No?
Chris Bosley, are you online?
Yes, I
Chris?
am. Can you hear me?
Yes. Question. I know one of the big pushbacks is going to be traffic, but as we've just said, we could put a lot more units, and if they could fit the parking, they would have more cars and more traffic. Question to you, that corner, especially when we finish building out the more recent townhomes down lower below on BB, that load is going to land up on Riverstone. So are we looking at any kind of, flagged crossing or, some sort of a stop sign at that juncture there as we see everything build out?
Well, in the short term, we have a grant actually for rectangular rapid flashing beacons to help pedestrians cross at that location. That doesn't solve the vehicle problem, but we actually have 3 of those RRFBs going in on Riverstone Drive. I think in 2022 is the construction year for those. So they should be going to design later this year. That was a state grant for that. As far as traffic goes, what I see happening is this intersection will likely require a roundabout at some point. We're not quite there yet. But it's also worth noting, I guess, that they've already got an approved site development permit for this project because they already had the C-17 zoning and they've got a building permit processing right now. So all this is kind of moving forward because they have a right to build there, but obviously the 3.5 foot difference in height doesn't amount to any more traffic, but it does open up doors for how much more could go on there. And I should also point out that people get really worried about residential, about condos and apartments and things like that. And if you read through my comments in the staff report, it shows that those residential units are adding very little in traffic generated in that area. It's really what happens on that commercial floor, and we really don't know what's going to happen on that commercial floor. I made some guesses just based on what's going on around there, and that was the number that Mike had mentioned, the 20% traffic increase. That was with like an 8,000 square foot quality restaurant with high turnover. So I just had to make some guesses on that. So I just wanted to clarify that.
A follow-up with that, Chris, this is John. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Again, I'm trying to frame this, really, tonight's debate is really, it seems to me more an issue of a few feet of height than not number of, units and what the applicant could do with or without our approval tonight. If we're thinking that, yeah, it'd be great if the green grass stayed for the rest of my lifetime. That'd be fine with me. But the truth be known, the applicant has the right to develop this project at the same number of units of residential or more, and a big restaurant with or without, or any other ski shop or whatever they want to do in the retail with or without our approval. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but, this thing's already in kind of for permit. Is really traffic, this thing isn't going to be made or changed by our decision based on traffic, correct? I mean, the traffic is going to be what the applicant can do by right, is going to add some traffic, more than green grass adds to traffic, correct?
Correct, yeah. Changing this to R34, if they decided to do the whole thing, residential units, it would be less than if they went back to C17 and decided to just build some, I don't know, 8,000 square foot donut drive-through shop or something like that,
Thank you.
Any other questions for Chris? No? Thanks, Chris. Okay, Mike. Before I call the applicant up, I just want to kind of tell you how this process works. The applicant will come up and have 30 minutes to present his points on this particular project. And then anyone that's signed up that wishes to speak will have about 5 minutes to give us their viewpoint. And then the applicant can come back again for any questions that might come up from public testimony. So with that, if the applicant is here and wants to come up.
Hello,
Hi, just tell me your name and I'll swear you in.
Joey Taves.
Do you swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, and one other statement, I'm sorry, I didn't mention. Depending if this is approved or not approved, there's an appeals process that has, you have to do an appeal within 15 days from this evening or when this is approved. Okay, go ahead, Joe.
Chairman, Commissioner, thank you for having me. Commissioner Ingalls, you've kind of done a really good job of covering the topics I wanted to discuss. We have no intention of increasing unit count, square footage, density. Everything about this building complies with C17 zoning. The only variance we're asking for is the 3.5 feet of height. And that is for the purpose of the public and the residential use. It doesn't benefit the architect, it doesn't benefit the owner. It's because part of the building exists out over the driveway. And so at the 45-foot height limit, that would be 8'6", which would feel very cave-like. There's a pedestrian plaza there that engages with the Riverstone development. So getting the little bit extra height is beneficial to not only the users of the building, but the public that will be occupying the plaza, going to the office, the shops. So this really is a design decision that needed to be made to make the building more functional. We are happy to stick to our self-imposed limits of height, density, parking, all the things that we've discussed.
Okay. Questions of the applicant at this time? No? Okay,
Thank you.
thanks. The first person I have up on the sign-up sheet is Steve Roth. Does not wish to testify?
No comment.
Okay. Clyde Carroll does wish. Come on. Just state your name and your city you live in, and I'll swear you in.
Clyde Carroll, Coeur Lane.
Do you swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Go ahead, Clyde.
As an architect with 45 years experience, registered architect with 45 years experience, I've been through a lot of these. Fortunately rather, I'm on the other side. This time I'm as an owner and resident in the adjacent condominium building, I had some concerns. And about a week ago, I had 2 pages of questions. I was talked to Mike Meharry about them. He answered all my questions. I answered, except for a couple items. We talked to in fact, yesterday, a group of owners were lucky enough to meet with the owner, the contractor, and the architect. So we discussed some more stuff. I still have 2 items that I'm kind of just want to bring up. We've already discussed it. All the architect's asking for is additional 3.5 feet, which, I don't see a problem with that. I think from a perspective, it's hard to judge when you've got a 45-foot building already. Even me as a professional, I would have trouble saying that's 45 feet, that's 48.5 feet. So I have no problem with that. My problem is or question rather, on page 23 of the staff report, proposed conditions, paragraph 1. I would like to see that limited to 48.5 feet per the applicant's self-imposed condition, which is already stated. And yesterday, in speaking with the architect, the question of the screen, the equipment screen would come up. Would that cause more additional height requirements? He said no, but the way the building was designed, they had some wings that came up, so the equipment would be screened within that 48.5 feet. So with that in mind, I'd like to see that last line in that paragraph stricken where the maximum height will not exceed 63 feet. Just take that out, and all we're looking at is 48.5 feet or 49 feet as their sketch showed. And then it also shows up on that same item on page 5 of the commission findings, special conditions under C. The building height shall be limited to 48.5 feet. I think I would like to see that, and the same thing, that last line stricken, the maximum height shall not exceed 63 feet. And that's the height issue. My other issue is the traffic, which we've brought that up too. I guess on page 21 of the staff report, the second to last paragraph, about middle of the thing, he says, a traffic study completed in 2018 found that the peak hour traffic, et cetera. A lot has happened in 3 years in the Riverstone area. I moved there I bought my condominium in 2018, and the growth there has been phenomenal. So to base his traffic volume on an outdated study really needs to be looked at. And I know y'all talked about the roundabout or traffic light or whatever, but I just wanted to bring that up, that's something that I think as a resident in that area, we deal with this every day. And it's only going to get worse. When that apartment building goes online, man, you've got all that traffic, and then you between Celtus and down Riverstone to BB, it's going to be crazy in there. So that's just the only 2 items I had, and I just I think in my sign-up sheet I said I was neutral on it. I agree with you. I don't see how you can stop it. They could build it tomorrow under the C-17 zoning, and that's the real world, But that said, if it makes the building better, why not give them the 3.5 feet? Thank you.
Thank you. Chris, do you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here.
Can you address the comment that just was made right now about the 2018, I guess, study? Do you have any comment on that as far as?
Yeah, the traffic study that was done worked with the Kootenai Metropolitan Planning Organization, KMPO, and looked at all the vacant areas around there. It plugged in numbers for traffic generation from River's Edge apartments at Lance Douglas's to the west. It just plugged in all the vacant land and what it was currently zoned for. So all of that traffic information included all these vacant sites. It is 3 years old. We did have a year that was missed from all of our lives in there, so it's kind of like it's 2 years old. But it is fairly recent, and they do look out 20 years into the future when doing those traffic studies.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Next person I have on the list is Nancy Brown, and she did not want to speak. No? Okay. Gabe. Thank you. No? Okay. Thanks, Gabe. Paul Hennevetter, if I pronounced it right. Hopefully close.
I'll make an attempt.
Okay.
I have a question.
Okay, just come on up to the podium and let me swear you in, Paul. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Go right ahead, Paul. Thank you.
Okay, my question is the parking,
Okay.
okay? is this parking needed for this building on that piece of property? Because that parking was already approved for 2151 building. Because I know that you need X amount of parking per X amount of rooms, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, so on, right? I don't believe that that parking can be gotten within that green belt. So it looks to me like they're trying to stretch out into that other parking lot that was approved when that building was built back then. So I really would like to know what's going on.
Okay, just hold on, and I guess, Mike, you want to address that if you can at this point?
There's going to be no parking that's going to be reduced. The applicant is doing subterranean parking in addition to surface parking, so there's going to be no loss in parking on this project. That's based on one of the conditions as well.
Including that parking lot to get the proper spaces for that building, correct?
We might want to have the applicant speak to this.
Okay.
There are some changes, so.
All right, we'll let the applicant
think
come
that's
back,
probably the best.
Paul, and he'll get you your answer, I'm sure. Thank you. Louis and Kathy Casa, not wish to speak? No? Okay, thank you. Wally Clark? Just state name, city you live in.
Wiley Clark, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Do you swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Go right ahead.
The parking is the issue. They say they're going to take away 7 parking spots that are already there. And what they're going to do is build back. They're going to tear up a part of the parking area to put on the main floor there. They're getting cut out 7 parking spaces, plus the first floor of the new building is going to have, we've heard from, at the last little meeting yesterday, maybe 4 businesses in there. And how many parking spots are those 4 businesses going to take? I don't see how it makes any sense. There's no new, really, they're building the building and shorten us 7 parking spots that we already have. Now, if that makes sense, I'm pretty surprised. And how you allowed this to get to this point is beyond me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, this is the first we've heard of this in front of the planning and zoning, and we'll have the applicant again address the issues of parking for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Ryan Martin?
No comment.
Okay. Nicole Cummings?
No comment.
Okay. Brandon Bouchat? I'm sorry if I didn't.
No comment.
Okay. Terrible with last names. John Stone? No comment? No? Okay. Moving right along. And the last person I have is Mo Brett. Oh. You're ready. Just state your name, city you live in, and I'll swear you in.
Yeah.
State your name and the city you live in.
Mo Maureen Brett, and I live
Okay.
at Riverstone.
All right. Do you swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Go right ahead, Mo.
Okay. First of all, actually, I think the project's beautiful, and it's a C-17. Someone's going to build something there. But my biggest concern is you got a grant, and you've been studying it for the corner of BB and Riverstone Drive. When did you get the grant? And you've talked about a roundabout, you're talking about a light, and you're talking about the flashing yellow lights. And that's been a long time ago since those houses have been built down by La Peeps. All those people and all the congestion and the density traffic, you should already be aware of. I want to know what's happening, why, when was that grant done, how much, and what are you going to put there? If you're doing a roundabout, is it going to be a 1 lane? Is it going to be a 2 lane, left turn lane straight? I think you guys are behind the ball, and I would like to know why you haven't made a decision about the traffic on that corner. And as far as all the parking, there's a 3-level commercial parking behind due to Regal Theaters that are vacant most of the time. So, I mean, a lot of the people, it's totally open. I mean, I think if you had more work with Regal, who owns it, perhaps that 3-floor parking lot that's empty could be used. I mean, I don't know if you've done a study on that. My biggest concern is, why haven't you done anything? I had a friend that got hit in the parking way, because the guy was making a left turn going down Little Peeps, going down there, and someone went around him, didn't even check on the pedestrian zone, and he got hit walking through the pedestrian zone. So when did you get this grant, and will it be done before November 2nd, when you guys have your new council? I want to know what's going to be accomplished. And I don't want you guys building this after this beautiful building's been up, and all of a sudden you decide to dig up the ground, dig up the trees, dig up the water, the fire hydrant, make all that money for the city, cost everybody all that money, when all this is aware of you right now. So I like to know where you are on that corner, putting something up there. You've had a grant. How long, how much, and what do you guys do about it?
Okay. As far as the grant goes, I'm not familiar with that. Hillary, you might want to address that.
I think we're going to have Chris address that, because I think
Okay,
it's
Chris.
specific to the rectangular rapid flashing beacons. So we'll have to see if Chris can address those questions.
Whatever.
Yeah, would you like me to speak now?
Yeah, Chris, go right ahead and talk about if there, information on this grant, and also perhaps how a roundabout is designed in that particular area, if you have any input on that, whenever that might be at some point in the future.
Yeah, so the grant was a pedestrian safety grant through the state. I got that about 2 years ago. And of course, with any state or federal grant, there's a long lead time on those. They just got the funding authority to do the design of it. So after October, it'll be the new fiscal year, we'll be given the go-ahead, I believe, to hire an engineering company to do the design, because there are some sidewalk replacements around town with this. There's actually 9 of these rectangular rapid flashing beacons that were put in. And these were specifically to address areas with either fatalities or type A injuries, which are debilitating injuries between vehicles and pedestrians. So that was money that we were looking for to help improve our pedestrian safety around town wherever we could. That grant doesn't go towards a roundabout. The roundabout idea was just 2 or 3 years ago. I took a look to see what could fit in that intersection, to see how we could address this in the future. And it looks like one would fit there. It would be a single lane, because it's single lanes coming into it from each direction, except from BB Boulevard coming southbound into that intersection has like 5 lanes right there. But that would have to be paid for with development impact fees at some point. But we haven't got to that point yet where it's necessitated. So I just wanted to make sure to separate that the roundabout is not a grant thing. We really don't have money for that at this point. The money was just for these pedestrian safety improvements, and I just jumped on the opportunity, and council supported me on that to get that money. So like I said, it takes a while with these state and federal grants, so we're just playing the waiting game until we can spend that money. But those won't go in until 2022 sometime, or maybe 2023, unfortunately.
Chris, I got a quick question.
Yeah.
There's 2 stop signs there right now, aren't there, on that intersection?
Yes, on BB Boulevard, yes.
Would it be possible during construction or sometime before this roundabout comes about to add 2 additional stop signs, so that it'd be a 4-way stop in that intersection? And then once the roundabout comes to be being done, then you can address the roundabout at that time? Is that something you guys looked at or did not?
We have not looked at that. That's something we would have to take a hard look at and model that, because if it gets too close to the Lakewood Riverstone intersection, it could cause some problems there backing up into it. But that's something we can certainly take a look at to see if we can have an interim solution there.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay, why can't you do something like a temporary light? You know how they do that in some intersections? They do that wire and they put a light and they do a stoplight. Wasting time for the flashing yellow, wasting money, I don't understand. I don't know why you can't do a temporary stop light sign, I mean a regular light, stop, green, go, and left turn, and really see the density of that traffic. The other thing is, how about further up the loop, where that North Idaho dermatology place was? Why not extending down there and going up the roads up there? No one's ever looked at that place, and all those are dead-end streets that go nowhere. You have all that new building going down by the bike path. Why aren't you doing streets going all the way down there? Who's ever looked at that part?
Well, I guess at one point in time in the Atlas Mill site, we looked at a lot of that stuff, a lot of meetings and things like that. Can't answer the question right here about hanging a light. Again, as Chris mentioned a little bit, it's a process that has to be looked at, I guess, down the road. So at this point, we can look at some of your comments that you said and address it, but as of right now, I don't believe anything can happen as of tomorrow to stop. However, this particular item is in front of us.
Well, I hope you look forward down the road and looking at streets going all the way down to the bike path. I mean, I figure if I was in the planning department, I'd drive down there and think of all my options. I wish I was on the planning department, I'd get it done. So just let you know.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I have no one else that has signed up. If anybody else wants to speak at this time? Otherwise, I'm going to ask the applicant to come back up, Joe, and address any of the issues.
I would like to start off by clarifying the parking. It is a little bit confusing,
What was that again? Sorry?
I would like to start off by clarifying the parking.
Whatever you'd like to.
So
Fine.
the Riverstone campus as a whole, from Riverstone Drive basically over, is all a shared parking lot. That includes the parking garage. It includes the parking behind the condos. So the whole campus as a whole shares parking. And the parking lot here is actually owned on the property of this project site. And this was once approved for a restaurant, which would have a much greater parking impact on this parking lot. What we are proposing as the building, the main level is going to be office space. Very low impact, not a lot of coming and going. It's not planned to be retail. Obviously, that could change in the future, but as of planned right now, it's going to be office use. So I would say that we're actually creating a much lower parking impact on the existing parking lot than we could be through other avenues we could take. And we're adding the parking garage, which wasn't required. If we built a restaurant here, we would be relying solely on the surface parking. We are providing underground parking at the expense of the owner to reduce the impact on the existing parking lot. One thing I don't know how I had some slides I wanted to look at here. Here we go. And this just goes back to his comment about the height that I wanted to address. And this kind of comes down to the design review because, but I want to get it clear now because if you guys make a decision based on what he was saying, we will need to know the route moving forward. So currently, we do not have screens for the mechanical units on the roof. It is required by the C-17 zoning. It is an option for a divergence through design review, which we were planning on doing, but design review is next week. What I'm showing here is, that popped up. So it's kind of hard to see here because it's so far away, but the way the building is shaped is like a V on all sides. The mechanical equipment is strategically placed in the center of that V, and the roof is quite a large area. So what this diagram is showing here is, it's really hard to see down here at the bottom, but you would have to be basically a quarter mile away to see the top third of the mechanical equipment if it's not screened. With that said, we are happy to screen it if the city determines we need to. And looking at the City Code 1706-325, we are allowed to have a projection above max height of 10% of the horizontal roof area. And what this diagram shows is this is the mechanical area. Total roof area is 13,000 43 square feet. Mechanical area needed to be screened is 1,290 square feet. So we could screen this and be under the 10% allowed to go beyond the max building height. So I just wanted to clarify that we are happy to screen it if you guys want us to. If you guys are okay with how we've designed it where we don't need the screening, we're okay with that. I just don't want to get in a position where there's wording that says we're limited to 48.5 feet, period, when we might have to end up screening this based on design review decision. But we are happy to say that the roof line itself will never go beyond 48.5 feet.
And when you say the roof line, is that the way the building is shaped?
Yeah, this whole area here you see will be 48.5. The only thing that would stick up is obviously existing mechanical equipment and any screening we may or may not.
So that would be above that?
Correct.
45, how many feet that might be, but it would be a screen in the middle of
Correct.
the building, not the edge of the building
So
itself.
visually impact would be small because it's
Right.
centered. It is, like I said, it's at lower
Deep
grade than
V.
the edge of the roof.
Okay.
Any screening would be, yes.
It would get you up to about 54 feet.
So we're happy to, if we could say that the roof line as the code is written will be 48.5, but as, this code section allows, we might have something sticking up above that as determined by design review.
That would be the screening to 54 feet. Okay?
Building height, including screening. I mean, that's really
Yeah.
how we need to determine.
We would define that.
Define it, is just
Yeah.
building height inclusive of screening, equipment screening, 54 feet.
Okay.
That would be an easy phraseology.
And we can do that as a condition?
That's already in there as a condition. I
Okay.
just
Just need to include
clarify
the screening
that
part.
it can't just be screened with just like a fence or something like that. It has to be integrated into the
Aesthetically.
architecture, the screening. So if that's determined that, it's not going to be hidden by their current design, that's why staff wrote that condition, the first condition, as worded. But, yep, certainly we don't have to have that last sentence that says can't exceed 63 feet, because that's already allowed by R34. So
Right, so the-
if there's a
the-
max of 54 that everyone agrees on, that could be.
All right. Okay, so the max would be 54 feet for screening. The exterior portions of the roof would be the 45
Correct.
feet. Perhaps that's how,
48.5.
48, whatever that number might be. Somehow, when we make our findings, just to find out a little bit more. Okay, you have any more questions, Lynn?
Nope.
Sean, you had a question?
I
These
think
guys.
the dialogue here helped me understand that. I agreed with Mr. Clyde Carroll, is it? His comment about if we're really looking at 48.5, why did we end up at 54? And then we're mentioning 63 and whatnot, I think it wouldn't be the last time, wouldn't be the first time, certainly, that we've wordsmithed a condition right here real time, and it sounds like we could come up with something that, and here's the question, you could live with some kind of a condition that said that the roof line itself would be capped at 48.5
Yep.
with an allowance for any necessary screening up to 54 feet if it's mandated
Yep.
by the Design Review Commission.
We are happy with that decision.
For mechanical.
You go that route.
Just
For just the mechanical
Correct.
area that we see there, yeah. Thank you, yeah.
Thank you. Any further questions?
Anybody have any other questions, the applicant, before I close the testimony on this? No? Okay. Thanks, Joe.
Hope I didn't break something there. There we go.
You should be good. No, you don't need to share.
Okay.
Okay. At this point, I'm going to close public comment on this item and bring it to the commissioners for further discussion and/or a motion.
I'd like to entertain a little discussion. I'd like to, I think what I've heard tonight in testimony and discussion and dialogue and inputs and everything is, I think it's made it clear to me that this is really an issue about a few feet of height. And we've heard one of the folks say it's a beautiful looking building, and I'm sure it will be. Parking is always an issue. If it's more than 50 feet to the spot I want, it's an issue. If I got to walk another 30 feet, but overall, there's a lot of parking. We've heard one of the testimonies that, you know, the whole parking garage is empty, and it's not Regal's, it's part of the whole Riverstone development, so there's plenty of parking. I don't think parking is a challenge, and I come back to the point that I think I made is the applicant could develop this project by right tomorrow without any of our approval at 8.6 feet under the cave, he called it, rather than you know, something that's a little bigger and nicer. He could develop it tomorrow at more units than we're asking for. He could put a restaurant in there with more traffic. So, I mean, not to dismiss the fact that there's traffic issues down there. I think the city has been working hard to correct those things and make it better. There's another entrance into Riverstone. We see the work going on Northwest Boulevard today. That's going to make things better. Maybe a roundabout comes in a few years. But those issues I don't think are really the issue here tonight. Because, as I keep saying, the applicant can develop this tomorrow. So I think our issue is with height, and I think if we craft the right condition, I think I'm comfortable with 48.5 roof line with some allowance for rooftop mechanical screening, as we've just discussed here, and I think this project should be supported and approved.
Thank you, John. I mirror what John just said. I approve the concept of this design and the planning for Riverstone and the parking, and again, there's always some issues with any project in Coeur d'Alene, and I think this fits best in I think one of the last pieces of property in Riverstone to be aptly, you know, be developed in many years that all the development has started, and we've learned from many applicants that came forward how best to address traffic and try to make it all work in Riverstone. There's just a lot of buildings, a lot of people, a lot of cars, and a lot of visitors that go there to use the park and use the restaurants, and that was the purpose of what Riverstone was created to do. So I'm in agreement that this particular project should be approved, but we'll see how the vote goes. Lynn, have any questions, comments?
No. How about anyone?
I know.
outside
Is
the
anyone
house
out
here?
there
Is
still?
anyone out in
As far
cyberspace?
as our other commissioners?
Like,
Are you guys awake?
Commissioner
Commissioner
Messina, this is Commissioner Ward. I have a quick question, comment. Actually, Commissioner Ingalls made a comment about how the difference between the 45 and then I think he said something like 8 additional feet. Am I correct with that recollection there, Commissioner Ingalls?
I think we're kind of settling on some kind of a crafted proposed condition that might say the building roof line height shall be limited to 48.5 feet with allowance for additional height for screening of just the mechanical equipment island.
Right. And I guess the reason I'm asking this question this way is, if nothing were to change and it was to go back to how it's been proposed, 45 feet and all, they still also have an additional, what is that, 10% above that 45 to provide screening if it was required. And I don't know if maybe the staff person could, or someone from legal could perhaps address that. But the point is, I don't think it's really an 8-foot difference. It's all relative. It's 45 plus the 10, or 48 and a half plus the 10%, or something along those lines. So it wouldn't be a complete difference of 8 feet is what I'm getting at. At least that's why I'm understanding it.
Thank you, Michael.
Yep.
Any other comments before I bring it for a motion? Okay, I'm looking for a motion. I'll make a motion. Thank you.
This matter having come before the Planning Commission on September 14th, 2021, and there being present a person requesting approval of item SB use permit to allow a density increase to R34 for a proposed 4-story mixed-use building in the C17 zoning district. The applicant is Johnstone Living Trust, EAT 10 LLC. Location is a 1.39 acres located at 1579 West Riverstone Drive. Will agree to adopt, the Planning Commission adopts items B1 through B7, including various standards, postings, et cetera. B8, pursuant to Section 17.09.220, special use permit criteria, special use permit may be approved only if the proposal conforms to all the following criteria to the satisfaction of the Planning Commission. The proposal is and does accept and embrace the natural environment. It improves upon our waterfront development. Objective 1.11, it feeds into our community design, and 1.12 as well. It does take away some of our open space, but it still provides a public plaza, which will invigorate the community as well. And goal number 2, economic environment. It provides a quality workplace and accommodations. It continues our connectivity to the rest of the development adjacent. Goal 3, it adds to our home environment and builds on the neighborhood that is already extant. We will continue with capital improvements through this additional building. Goal 4, as an administrative development, our comprehensive plan advocates efficiency and quality management. We do have the existing streets, sidewalks, connectivity with bicycle paths. We have a number of businesses that this will also feed and support. The design and planning of the site is compatible with the location, setting, and existing uses on adjacent properties. The B8C, the location, design, and size of the proposal are such that the development will be adequately served by existing streets, public facilities, and services. And we have a number of planned administrative actions in the future, though they may not be immediate. They are certainly going to address traffic issues, both the additional exit onto Northwest Boulevard, traffic control for pedestrians, as well as a possibility of a roundabout. And in conclusion, the Planning Commission, pursuant to the aforementioned, finds that Johnstone Living Trust EAT 10 LLC for special use permit as described in the application should be approved. The following special conditions applied are as follows. 1, that the building roof line be capped at 48.5, and that the actual final building height, including all mechanical screening, not to exceed 54 feet, which should be within the 10% ratio that we provide anyway within our city ordinances, per the applicant's self-imposed condition. Point 2, the total square footage of the building shall be limited to 53,416 square feet, and the number of residential units shall be limited to 15 per the applicant's self-imposed condition. 3, that adequate parking shall be provided pursuant to the final building plan and approved design, and that parking is not reduced from the Riverstone Village campus parking. 4, the city may require additional consent from lessees if the project is taking away or reducing any required parking. And 5, the applicant will be required to build this project based on the site plan submitted and any design changes required by the Design Review Commission approval.
Lynn, just for clarification for myself, when you changed the condition for a 54-foot height, was your intent to have it so that it is just around, as Commissioner Engel said, the island for mechanical only, and not the building height itself?
Right. It's just for the mechanical.
Great, thank you for that. I have first, looking for a second.
Second.
Now I have a second by Ingalls. Roll call, Shannon, please.
Fleming?
Yes.
Ingalls?
Yes.
Lutrip?
Yes,
Mandel?
Yes.
Rumpler? Ward?
Yes.
Okay, SP-5-21 is approved. Thank you all. Appreciate appreciate it.
Motion to
All right.
adjourn.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor to adjourn?
Aye.
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 Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
I was running out of wind there. Ugh, hate that.